Hello and good evening to you. Coming up on BBC London.
Had COVID not happened, I would have never made that step.
Was really the nail in the coffin, I would say.
Small businesses reflect on 5 years since the COVID pandemic as some call for more government support ahead of April tax rises. Also tonight, people are evacuated from their homes in Notting Hill after a building partially collapses. Luckily, no one was hurt.
And I heard this rumble. I thought it was some form of earthquake or something, and I just thought, that sounds strange, and why is the house shaking like that?
Plus, they're synonymous with London, but could the iconic black cab be facing extinction? And are our kids making enough of a splash in the pool or stopping swimming too early? A very warm welcome to the programme. As this week marks 5 years since the first COVID lockdown, the Federation of Small Businesses say it's seen 500,000 firms lost to the pandemic and is urging the government for more support as tax rises loom next month. Our work and money correspondent Megan Owen has spoken to London business owners about both the highs and lows of an unprecedented time here in the capital.
This model networking event in Lewisham is a product of COVID. Believe it or not, what is now an events and hospitality business started off as a Caribbean takeaway in lockdown, when founder Maya gave up her job as a professional netball player.
We was just a little takeaway spot out of a small flat in Hatfield. Then we started to cater for events, whether that be personal or private, and we've gone from 1 employee to 50.
One of those is Maya's grandfather, Tony, who is also the company's first investor.
He gave a very gracious the first £150 investment that we ever had. That bought our first fryer, our first batch of tools and tongs. So yeah, he is a big part of this business and he's been alongside it ever since.
I think more granddads should really get involved in something like this because it's very self-satisfying.
As some doors opened, others closed.
Here we are, outside the former Red Cup Cafe.
Henal takes me back to the spot where he opened his cafe with his wife Rena 10 years ago.
It was like our little baby. We were here 7 days a week.
The cafe became a community hub in COVID.
Helping out with the hospital, with the doctors and nurses, giving them coffees, teas, biscuits, sweets. I look at the joyous moments that we had from it, the ability to serve people.
The cafe signed up to Eat Out to Help Out, a scheme run by then Chancellor Rishi Sunak, which offered 50% off meals to help boost the hospitality industry, and received a government loan, which they paid off. Despite this, the business closed its doors in 2022.
It was devastating at the time because we were just building more momentum and getting past the COVID situation. But food prices and the cost of energy was really the nail in the coffin, I would say.
In order to survive, some businesses had no choice but to adapt, like Penny, who's been a knitwear designer for 38 years.
Before COVID, I ran my business in Camden Lock and I had people come to my shop from all over the world. So I'll show you how this works.
During COVID, she shut her shop and now sells her clothes online from her home studio.
Online is much harder than selling direct face-to-face because you can't show people how beautiful the garments are.
With some thriving and others just surviving, the Federation of Small Businesses says it's seen 500,000 of them lost to the pandemic, with looming tax changes threatening further closures.
In April, minimum wage and employer national insurance are set to rise. Yet more challenges for those businesses who've weathered the COVID storm.
Well, government needs to be on the side of small businesses, particularly this growth agenda. You've seen the Employment Rights Bill coming down the line, and a lot of those changes are going to have a big impact on small businesses. Day one rights, for instance, statutory sick pay. No, there's no rebates available for small businesses.
A spokesperson said the government knows the vital importance of small businesses to our economy and are protecting the smallest businesses from the employer national insurance rise and late payments and capping corporation tax.
We want you to start getting accustomed to cameras.
For some businesses, COVID was just the beginning. For others, it marked the end of the road. Either way, it's brought lessons and change.
And Megan joins me now. As you mentioned, there's further change to come in a few weeks' time in April. What can businesses in London expect?
Well, quite simply, Riz, it's going to be more expensive and more complex to hire staff. So first of all, we're expecting the national minimum wage to go up from £11.44 to £12.21. Now, shortly after that, we'll also see a rise in employer national insurance contributions from 13.8% to 15%, and that is on workers' earnings above £175 a week. Now, some businesses hope that the extension to employers' allowance, which is the amount that employers can claim back from their national insurance bill, will help to offset that. But we're also expecting 75% current relief on business rates, which is charged on most non-domestic properties such as pubs and shops, replaced by a 40% discount for retail, for hospitality and for leisure companies. Now, that will see some businesses, the business rates more than double. Now, the government says that this is a once in a parliament budget, which will help wipe the slate clean. But business owners are telling me that this is going to be their toughest year yet.
OK, for now, thank you, Megan Owen there. And just to say that Megan will be back on Monday answering some of your questions around what changes in April might mean for you. So if you do have a question, perhaps around council tax or other bills, then please do just get in touch at hellobbclondon@bbc.co.uk. You can see that address on your screen now. Thanks for joining us this Wednesday evening. Lots more to come, including...
Here at Bay 66 beneath the Westway, they're getting ready to skateboard all through the night, and to do so in the presence of an Olympic great.
People had to be evacuated from their homes in a part of West London after a roof partially collapsed. The London Fire Brigade was called to a road in Notting Hill in the early hours. Luckily, no one was injured. Barry Caffrey sent this report.
This was the scene in the early hours of this morning. The front gable end of the roof on a row of 3 terraced houses fell to the ground.
Residents living in 11 flats in this building behind me were woken up in the early hours of this morning because of the partial roof collapse. London Fire Brigade were here between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning. But one man living in one of the flats slept through the whole thing and only left the building this morning. The residents have been told they won't be able to access their flats again for at least a week, and some of them have been placed into local hotels.
John lives in one of the flats affected.
I was in bed and I heard this rumble. I thought it was some form of earthquake or something, and I just thought, that sounds strange, and why is the house shaking like that? So I got out of bed, put on my clothes. I looked through the window and I see people were just filming with their cameras. I said, what are they filming at? And as I opened the door, I saw all the rubble, and I just couldn't believe. I thought I was in a movie.
Structural engineers and a building control team have been assessing the situation.
I still think also they should do additional checks.
Patrick, who lives just opposite, told me it was a scary experience.
2 o'clock I was awoken by a loud explosion. So I rush out to the front just to see what was going on. Then I see a lot of fumes coming down, so from the building up top there. So then I realized that there was a lot of rubbles and stuff outside. They were everywhere. It was like dusty. Well, I'm still a bit shocked. I'm still a bit like, emotional of what happened also, because it could happen to any one of these buildings.
Notting Hill Genesis are the housing association responsible for the properties and say temporary alternative accommodation has been arranged for the households affected, and an investigation has now been launched. Barry Caffrey, BBC London.
Now, they're as synonymous with London as red buses and telephone boxes, but could the iconic black taxi be facing extinction? A new report suggests that could happen by 2045 if the current rate of decline continues. The number of licensed cabs here in the capital has fallen by over a third in the last decade. Our transport correspondent Tom Edwards has the story.
I love my job because I love meeting all the different interesting people. I love the freedom.
Suzanne has been a cabbie for 13 years, but she thinks the barriers to becoming one need addressing, particularly the memory road test cabbies have to pass, called the knowledge.
No, I love being a taxi driver. I love being a cabbie. I think it would help massively if the knowledge wasn't so long. I mean, I did it in 3 years and 3 months, but if we could slim that down to possibly 2 years, but keep the standards up, I think that would encourage a lot of drivers, a lot of people to come on the knowledge.
A report out today says unless there are changes within 20 years, London's iconic black cabs won't exist. Amongst its recommendations, it calls for interest-free loans for new drivers to buy electric vehicles and a reform of the knowledge.
The reform of the knowledge is really important to ensure that new taxi drivers can actually access the same level of benefits, and essential part of that is reducing the costs as well, the operating costs and the upfront costs as well.
The black cab trade has always had to change, even though it hasn't always wanted to. This was a demo in the 60s against minicabs. So what now?
We need to make sure that the financial impact is mitigated so that the people who are providing taxis and service, that it is a living, that they can actually afford to drive cabs. So that means lobbying the government for certain interventions and certain bits of funding. So we're hoping the Mayor will support us on that. But we also need to make sure that taxis are placed, that take their rightful place in the transport ecosystem.
The reality is at the moment that taxi drivers in London are having the best time that we've had in many, many years customer-wise, but the stresses and strains are affecting older drivers, problems with the knowledge, younger drivers are not coming through. All of it can be addressed, and we're hoping the Mayor's going to recognise the threat of this report and the dangers in this report, react positively, give us the support we need, and we can confine this report to history.
The Mayor says he will soon be publishing a taxi action plan to ensure cabs continue to play a vital role in the capital. Without action, though, the fear is the number of black cabbies will continue to drop. Tom Edwards, BBC London.
Let me bring you a roundup of some of the day's other stories. The Met has referred itself to the police watchdog after a woman was knocked over by a police car in South London. Paramedics were called to the crash, which happened on a road between Camberwell Green and Denmark Hill yesterday afternoon. Her injuries are said to be non-life-threatening. Plans for a national day to honour all victims and survivors of terrorism have been described by campaigners as a major step forward. The government has announced proposals to boost support for those affected by terrorism and has launched a consultation to get views on how people should be remembered. A £3.5 million refurbishment of the Millennium Bridge, which was expected to begin this spring, has been pushed back until next year. The work will see the bridge's deck resurfaced and its steelwork repainted. And as always, you can find lots more stories on our website at bbc.co.uk/London. Next, we go behind the scenes at the latest studio facilities to open in the rapid expansion around London. Even before building work was complete at Sky Studios Elstree, it was used for filming the biggest blockbuster of last year. You can probably guess what it is. Wendy Hurrell went to find out how much such studios benefit the local economy or young people who want to get into the industry.
Before the building work at Sky Studios Elstree was even complete in February 2023, the cameras started rolling on Wicked. It was the biggest ever opening for a movie based on a musical.
So the library set with the song Dancing Through Life was in this very stage with the spinning rings.
What's the sort of draw for filmmakers to this part of the world?
So you need a number of factors to all come together. Being in the right place is crucial for the crew base, for the supply chains, for easy access to central London, transport links, but also have the room to build a facility of this scale, which is very difficult to do. The closer you get to London, the harder it becomes.
But does it actually benefit the area? Charlie has found there's reward for the enterprising.
So I've only been doing this business for 7 months, and I was set up on Boreham Wood High Street, where I still am as well in the morning. And then about a week or two into doing that, I called Sky Studios, called the reception and said, have you got any interest in me coming down? And they were like, sure, why don't you come down tomorrow?
Wicked has been a solid foundation for yet another studio expansion around London, winning 2 Oscars for Best Costume Design and Best Production Design, a reflection perhaps of the skilled workforce here.
You're beautiful.
And that inspires the next generation. Ishani was on a 12-month traineeship while the world of Oz took over the backlots in Boreham Wood.
I saw like empty sound stages which used to be empty before being transformed into like the Wizard's Palace, the Enchanted Forest, Emerald City, and I was lucky enough to be a runner on set. And then the next minute I was standing inside the Emerald City Express, which was actually a fully functioning locomotive, which was really cool as well.
Eve is hoping for a similar experience as she gets entry-level training in the industry.
I've always wanted to like go into film and television, but it always just felt like super far away. So it's been really cool to see it all and like be within it and actually finally feel like it is possible.
Be part of a team, be confident and be dynamic.
Elsewhere on site, 2 schools a day, a target of 10,000 pupils a year, come to the immersive learning experience Sky Up.
We were talking about people here that are doing different jobs and then picking what one suits you best. So I picked one that was an art and photographer.
What's it like having a huge studio like this on your doorstep?
It's like exciting because you would know like when they're shooting big movies, like a lot of actors will be like in the neighbourhood and like you might see them walking about.
The high-end TV and film spend last year was £5.6 billion, according to the BFI. Wicked was the biggest film of the year, and there is still part 2 to come in November. Wendy Hurrell, BBC London.
OK, going poolside now. Are our kids making enough of a splash in the pool? Because new research suggests children are stopping swimming lessons too early and as a result not achieving the skills they need to swim safely. Gemma O'Reilly went to find out more at the London Aquatic Centre.
You should believe in yourself to swim because you never know, you might really like to swim.
This looks like fun, but these young people are learning key life skills.
Legs up!
But more than half of the children in England are not learning basic swimming competencies. So we've come to the Aquatic Centre in Stratford to find out why.
I think that parents are not staying in the swimming lessons for long enough just because they're not sure on how competent their children need to be. So if you imagine they're at the beach and they need to be strong enough to be able to swim back to the beach in case they get stuck in a current or something like that.
Arms together, like arrows through the water.
According to the data collected by Swim England, parents believe that children only need 5 to 20 metres to swim safely, but actually the distance is 100 metres.
That, along with floating for 60 seconds, treading water for 30 seconds, and being able to swim with their clothes on are all key skills children need to swim safely. So what is putting families off?
One of the main reasons could be the cost of living. Everything is going up, and some parents might not be able to afford swimming lessons.
They're giving up because of the timing. They're coming from far, traveling from far, driving, petrol, traffic, energy. When they're here, is only for half an hour.
But that half an hour to these children is very important.
I like it because it's educational and it's fun at the same time, and it gives me an opportunity to
have exercise, and it helps me kind of to boost my confidence. If a shark is chasing you or something and you have to swim really quickly.
Swim England defines competency as doing each skill independently and confidently to allow children to be safe and enjoy the water, something Nabila never fails to do.
My favourite thing to do in the pool is mostly floating because it feels like I'm in zero gravity or space.
And as Nabila says, reach for the stars and learn to swim. Jem O'Reilly, BBC London.
Good advice. Now, you may have seen one or have one of these close to where you live, a sign saying no ball games. Well, a campaign has been launched to bring them down. New signs saying more ball games have gone up instead on a Lambeth housing estate. And as Harry Lowe has been finding out, not everyone is happy about it.
No ball game signs.
They've been a fixture on housing estates for decades.
Not anymore.
But there are signs things are changing, with plans to take thousands of them down. It's being led by London Sport, who wants to bring children back outside.
Calm down, man.
We know that obesity levels amongst children, particularly in London, are rising. We know that there are serious mental health problems amongst children and young people, and we need places for them to go. Now, ideally, we'd like to see more parks, more sports facilities, more swimming pools, but we're also realistic that money is tight.
Lambeth Council says it's not about lowering standards.
So the presence of a sign or not doesn't really change the situation. These signs aren't enforceable. We have antisocial behaviour rules for our housing, and that stays in place. We've got to take a view that young people live here. This is their estates, this is their communities, and they have every right to be here as well.
Go back 50 years and playing ball games was often the only option. But in the digital age, does it really make sense for children to be discouraged from being more active?
A couple of years ago, you used to see children kind of play out here, over there.
Helena's lived in Stockwell for 14 years and says it's great news for her 3 boys.
The kids won't have so much fear of being out playing with a ball or just playing it or so on, you know. A lot of people use the signs as a thing to not only for ball games but in general as you shouldn't be playing around here. So I think taking those down will do something, definitely.
Not everyone agrees.
No ball games. Definitely no ball games. We've got enough cars and all that going on here. They've got a football team over there anyway.
I mean, you have people playing ball games and people are just walking to the front door. I don't think that would be a good idea.
I'm glad children can play football here again and have fun, just like it used to be.
Organisers admit they're aiming high, but hope to score plenty more fans along the way. Harry Lowe, BBC London.
OK, 16 years old and already a 2-time Olympic medalist. Skateboarding star Sky Brown is in the capital tonight for a special event to showcase the sport. A 25-hour skate session in West London has just got underway, with skaters in action right through the night and until tomorrow evening. Here's our sports reporter, Chris Legg.
Bay 66 beneath the Westway, one of London's best known skate parks, but it is looking a little different tonight. We've got a skateboard party going on for 25 hours. It started at 6 o'clock, it's going to go on till 7 tomorrow evening. We've got DJs playing, we've got skateboard yoga, which I'm really intrigued to see. It really is a party, and you can't have a skateboard party without skateboard royalty. Britain's best is here, Sky Brown. Sky, you're going to be showing us your tricks a little bit later. What have you got in store for us?
Yeah, for sure. I'm just going to have a good time with the crew and, yeah, just have a good sesh, maybe pull out some good tricks.
Take me back to that moment in Tokyo 4 years ago now when you became Britain's youngest ever Olympic medalist, just 13 years old.
Yeah, that was a crazy moment, one to never forget. The feeling of just, you know, accomplishing my dream and, you know, being in the Olympics for the first time and then, you know, getting the bronze for Britain, it was very special. It was no words to explain it.
And to follow that up with another bronze in Paris last summer, still only 16, have you already got your eyes on preparing for LA 2028? And I've got to ask, how realistic a prospect is Olympic gold?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I missed surfing by one spot last Olympics, so I definitely want to qualify for both and get 2 gold medals is the goal.
Genuinely, so surfing is, because you went for that, you didn't manage to qualify at Paris, you want to go for that and skateboarding in LA?
Yes, 2 gold medals, the goal.
I love the confidence there, Sky, to have that. Look, we can't wait to see you perform tonight. We'll let you go and get ready. Sky Brown there, Skateboard GB, say that female participation has gone up by 20% in the last year, and you've got to think a lot of that is down to Sky's success. Now, many of the events tonight are ticketed, are invite only, but there are free drop-in sessions as well between 8 and 10 o'clock tonight and from 7 a.m. throughout the day tomorrow. So if you love your skateboarding, why not bring your board down?
Why not? Chris and Sky Brown there. Well, the weather's brightened up for skateboarding or even outdoor swimming. Lovely to see the sunshine. And of course, it's lovely to see Louise. Hi there. And it has brought smiles all round, I think it's fair to say.
My dog walk today took twice as long because everybody was stopping talking to me. That everybody's happy when the sun is shining, particularly at this time of year. The cherry blossom is coming out and temperatures actually just to the north of London peaked this afternoon at 19 degrees. We could actually see a 20 tomorrow. The weather is on the change though as we get into the weekend, so you really do need to make the most of it if you can over the next couple of days. But we have beautiful blue sky, a lot of sunshine generally throughout the day. Now, overnight tonight, we get the best of both worlds. We have a little bit more in the way of cloud, and it will actually stay mild and frost-free in comparison to the last couple of nights. So temperatures were staying above freezing first thing in the morning at around 5 to 8 degrees. But it'll also be accompanied by a lot of sunshine as well. So some early morning sunshine as we go through the morning. We might see a little bit of cloud developing into the afternoon, but all in all, it is going to be a dry, settled day with light winds. It really will feel pleasantly warm out there. Temperatures are likely to peak 18, 19, possibly 20 degrees if we're lucky. As we go into Friday, a few more isobars on the charts, a stronger wind still coming from the south, but it will be a breezier day on Friday. We might see a little bit more in the way of high cloud in the sky, but nevertheless dry, and there will still be a lot of sunshine to look out for. Perhaps not quite as warm with the strength of that wind, 15 to 17 degrees. Now, as we go into the weekend, low pressure starts to arrive from the southwest. It will gradually bring some outbreaks of rain. For us, not looking too bad. Saturday should be largely fine and dry, and then we'll see some sharper showers around, particularly for the second half of the weekend. So looking somewhat like this after the sunshine and the heat peaking, well, we are likely to see a change, and then it gets that little bit cooler as we go through the middle part of next week. Enjoy the spring sunshine.
Absolutely. Thank you, Louise. We will. That's where we leave you. Thanks for watching. Plenty more on our website and social media. From me and the team, enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.